Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander. That is Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we've got playa props on a big slate here in the NBA on Monday night, as we are going to be off on Tuesday so that everybody can go out and vote. No NBA games to distract there. The NBA players can get out and vote and all that kind of stuff in your local elections. But we are going to be looking at Monday night here. Quick review of Friday, Nate. Went 2-2 in the playa props, lost about a quarter of a unit. Overall on the night, though, if you're following along on the best bets as well, 3-1 plus 2 units there. So a really nice night overall, as long as you're tailing the couple bets on each video that Nate and I are putting out there. We are coming back to you each and every weekday, so subscribe to follow along. Like I said, you can check out the best bets we have up today as well. Playa props is our bread and butter, though, baby. So I'm feeling pretty good about coming back here. I got a couple unders, and you always have to feel good about unders in the NBA right now. But we move along. We're still up about 5 units, 5.25 units for everybody on the season total with best bets and player props, Nate. So we're feeling good after a couple of weeks. Do head over to thelines.com as well, putting up a bunch of good stuff on the site right now, including power rankings for all the sports up there that we've got going on. Also have an odds finder tool you can use to make sure you're getting the best juice available to you on all these bets that you're making in the NBA this season. Nate, let's go ahead and run right into your first playa prop for tonight.
Yeah, James Harden is only at 5.5 assists, and this is a smash button for me, even though there is some chatter, that Tyronn Lue, he said, no minutes restriction specifically, but I don't expect him to go out there and play 40 is basically the quote there. He'll have some sort of minutes limit. He's not going to play the entire game, but James Harden has averaged at least 13.5 assists per 100 possessions in 7 straight seasons. While he's out there, he's going to be diming up. He's maybe the best pick and roll passer in the NBA. He has Paul George and Kawhi on the wings to spray the ball to. And those are guys who are not going to mind giving up some usage, right, in their debut and say all right, yeah, get your feet wet. I mean, Kawhi certainly wouldn't care if he's sure, I'll play 20 minutes and score 8 points. I don't care about Poor this. Man. But James Harden does care about a good showing in his debut after he loafed his way out of town. We've seen this twice in the last couple of years. First, the debut with the Nets, 32, 12, and 14 with 9 turnovers in 40 minutes. So give me the ball, please. Let me show you what I can do. Then after he loafs his way out of the Nets, with the Sixers, he goes for 27, 8, and 12 in a 133-102 win. So just elevates the entire offense. Got Joel Embiid 34 points on 11 for 13 shooting. So I think at this stage, he wants to show look, I'm a great table setter. This is what I'm going to bring. And while he's out there, he's going to be able to dime up, especially against this Knicks defense. They have not found answers to slow him down. His last 6, he's averaging nearly 12 assists versus them. And his last 3 at MSG in particular, which is why I'm look, he's not taking this, he's going to play as many minutes if they give him to him, 30, 32 probably. He's averaged nearly 14 assists per game and 23 points while playing 40 minutes per game his last 3 trips to MSG. Loves those lights, and he's going to be out there. So 5.5 assists, I would go 1.5 units, and then I would start a little bit of a ladder here, at least to go half a unit on 7 assists, which is plus 185. Again, I'm not that scared of him playing 25 to 30 minutes. That I think he can still get this number while he's out there.
So, but you would bank on him playing 30 minutes would be around the cap. You'd think that he gets.
I would project around 30, yeah, based on the comments. Yeah.
Makes sense, and I still feel comfortable with it. I'm going to tail you on this. I feel what you're saying entirely, but I can tell that you feel it in your soul and within the core of your bones because of how much confidence you have on it. And I'm with it. Like you said, a little mini ladder. You're fine with putting a full 1.5 units on the core line here for him and his assists, and that's great. So take that confidence, put it on there, and then, a little sprinkle on an alt for him as well if you feel good about it. If this was him, we knew he was going to play 34-ish minutes in a game that they had to win, then this would probably be even higher, and you would still feel comfortable laddering it the way that he plays. So I'm going to go and be the under guy today, man. All 3 of my picks are unders for my player props here today, including the Domantas Sabonis under 7.5 assists I took in the best bets video and that we have up as well today. Şengün, Alperen's Şengün under 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Minus 110 on DraftKings, going with a full unit on that. I'll let Nate talk about the turnovers that he's going to be in there, but there's some similar stuff that we'll talk about, which is like usage being up for this dude, and the amount of assists that he has in general makes sense because of the fact that his usage is up so high, and they're definitely running a lot more offense through him, almost in like a Al Horford kind of way from where he plays on the floor. But either way, like they're playing this Kings team, and even though I like an under in this game, well, on top of the fact that I like an under in this game total, I don't like him to get his stuff as much here because of the number. Like, I think he's very good. I think he's had a very good season so far, and the 6 assists per game for him are very impressive. But the 32.5 is not something that he has done very much at all against this team or otherwise. So, like, even though Sac is Sabonis is their center, that's not a defensive anchor of any kind. More like Amontis Sabonis, because there's no D really coming from him at the center position. They still limit centers to the third fewest points so far this season. They did a pretty good job of it last season. But really, more importantly, like Şengün's only gone over this 1 out of 5 games that he's played this season, and that was in 41 minutes versus the Spurs, who are playing very, very fast this season, as we've seen. So they're playing at the 8th fastest pace. The Kings, very important. We talked about it in the other video. We'll talk about it whenever De'Aaron Fox is out. He's a lightning rod for that team and the game in general. Like, the game is just different when he's not in it. The Kings in general playing at the second slowest pace whenever Fox isn't in there this season. That's been 2 games out of the 5 that they've played so far this season. Yeah, same as last season. There was a 9-game sample. They played at a much slower pace without him, a 97 pace, which is about even faster than what they're at right now, versus the 100 that they played when De'Aaron Fox is in there. Obviously, so many more points per game, like 13 more points per game, actually, with De'Aaron Fox. And this season, everything's just clunky. So with the fact that, like, we just saw this total go under 200 in their last game, we've now seen 2 straight totals for the Kings go way under, a 203 total versus the Warriors without De'Aaron Fox as well. Şengün, as much as like he's done well so far getting this number, he's still only gotten this number once out of the 5 games, is my point. I think we got it a little bit too high because the expectations are that a Kings and Rockets game is going to be played at a super fast pace, and it's not.
Yeah, I mean, hasn't gotten this number. To be fair, though, he has been at 30 or 31 in 3 straight games, so it's definitely close. But I agree with you about fading offense in this game, and that's why I would look at the turnovers, which you get plus 135 for him to commit 3 turnovers at bet 365 in this matchup. You know, the Kings playing better defense, like you said. Mike Brown knows how to chop it up, and Şengün, every meeting between the Kings in his career has been between 2 and 4 turnovers, 4 turnovers in 2 of the last 4, once he actually started getting like starter minutes. You know, he managed to have 3 turnovers in 15 minutes in one of his early career against the Kings. So that's what his MO is, like, trying these ridiculous passes. I guess Ime has maybe reeled that in a little bit. But I would definitely look at that if you're scared about the bulk production and taking the under there. I'm going to go over here in Minnesota. Anthony Edwards, 2.5 3-pointers at minus 106 at FanDuel. Pretty good odds there as he hosts the Celtics. And the Celtics, in part because they've been just a freaking truck on offense, have forced opposing teams to shoot a lot of threes. We just saw the Nets shoot 52 threes on Saturday, 17 hits, including 2 guys hitting 4. Wizards had 2 guys hit 3. The Heat, of all teams, had 4 guys hit at least 3, including Hero hit 5. And the Knicks, of all teams, 4 guys hitting 3, quickly hit 5. So for Ant to just hit 3, I think it's pretty friendly odds here. The Celtics are giving up the 7th most threes to shooting guards in particular. Ant has hit 4.3 in his last 3 meetings against the Celtics at 48%. This season, he's been lights out on lower attempts. Only 5.6 attempts from deep so far, but he's shooting 54% versus last season. He shot 35% at home and took 8. So I think, a different type of game state here where you're trying to match points with this really efficient offensive team, where you're trying to prove something, as we saw with Minnie when they beat Denver at home just last week. I think it's a similar situation with the Celtics on shorter rest. Ant should come out gunning, and I'll take his odds to at least hit 3 if he's going to get like 8 attempts up.
Yeah, I mean, the logic is all there. The 2.5 for him is probably going to be around there for most of the season to get it at the basically even money in a situation where I do think you expect a bit more points, the T-Wolves still confuse me with the sort of runs that they go on. And the runs that they go on, I mean, like, sometimes they play fast, sometimes it's slow, sometimes defense, sometimes not. Celtics are going to pour it on, though. Like, I think you can expect that. Unless they have an off night. I'm sort of staying away from this game. You can tell how much I'm waffling on it because I don't have a feel for it. I would just say the number is nice for Ant Edwards to do some stuff in this game at near even money for that. So I'm going to close out with an under again. As I mentioned, this time Zion Williamson. I'm really just fading a lot of really good big men tonight, but we'll see how it goes. The big men fade parlay maybe. Zion under 4.5 assists. It's minus 125. Juice that down obviously there. So we'll go full unit on it though, but another thing, it's just something he hasn't done very much. He's put up 5 assists once this season. It was 8 versus OKC. I think you're going to see a much faster game than the game we're going to see against Denver at home, where Denver's just, they control the clock like it's crazy. They're like Tom Brady and Belichick controlling the clock. They get possessions how they want them, when they want them. The pace of the game, especially at home, where they probably have the most efficient home court advantage, most impactful, I should say, home court advantage. Like they can just do what they want at the speed that they want. And I think it's going to be a little bit slower where like they don't want to have to like worry about like a one-on-one versus Zion at the rim. They just want to play team defense and keep him muddled up in a way that, he'll have to kick out. I agree. But without CJ, it's like, I think you're still getting some pretty good value on the assists. I think it'd be a little bit lower if CJ was in, because you'd expect him to have more with CJ out as like point Zion, but that hasn't really been the case. With CJ out, he's averaging the exact same amount of assists since CJ got there, which is like a nice sample size. There's been roughly like 15, 16 games without CJ, and a bunch with him above 30. But Denver's top 10 in limiting opponent assists overall, 15th in limiting power forwards this season, for whatever that's worth. Once again, I don't necessarily put too much stock in it. I think it's really matchup based. But he's only put up, like I said, 5 assists in one of his 5, put up 5 assists in one of his 5 matchups versus Denver over the last couple seasons. So like it's not something that he does, especially because of the style of play that these two teams usually have when they go up against each other. So the other 3 games, by the way, this season where he didn't get the over 5 assists like he did against the Thunder, he's only averaging 2.8. So it's not something that I think he's really looking for this season. He hasn't even really found his rhythm going to the rim, much less like passing the ball as he's driving. So I think it's still a good fade for him.
Yeah, I mean, similar game theory when you have, Ant Edwards gunning, in this situation when you're playing the best team in the West, Zion's going to be gunning for points, not necessarily trying to play make here. And the spacing could be off without CJ. It's kind of never really worked with him and Ingram just being the 1A and 1B. So I don't know about them scoring a lot. That's why I like Denver to win this game. Put it in a teaser and best bet. So go check out that video, see what our logic is there.
I'm with it. So, all right, that's all the time we have for you in Play Props here for Monday night. We're going to be off, I guess, on Tuesday as the rest of the NBA is. So we'll be back on Wednesday with these videos for you guys. Until we see you next, happy betting.